Minnesota. As Governor Trudeau said, we are a state where the independence movement is this is the center of the independence movement. The reason the Democratic Farm Labor Party is called the DFL is there was a Farmer Labor Party. And I knew Elmer Benson. I went to see him when I was 17 years old, and that was about 35 years ago. And we became great friends. He succeeded Floyd Olson as governor. And one of the things that Elmer used, basically the 38 campaign when they defeated him, and he was the last independent before Jesse Ventura. They threw mud at him, and I mean, it was one of the dirtiest campaigns in Minnesota history. And so he was basically forced in 48. He headed the Wallace campaign for president, Henry Wallace for president. And after that, he was red-baited and tarnished so much, he went out and was a very successful farmer in western Minnesota and made millions of dollars. But Elmer used to say to me, "Don't ever doubt it. This is an evil system." And I'll never forget that. Even though he had benefited from it, he said it's an evil system. Well, several years ago, I went out to California. I got involved with the Green Party, and I met a fabulous person by the name of Matt Gonzalez. We came very close to electing Matt Gonzalez mayor. Very close. In fact, I think the election was stolen. We got 47% of the vote, 53%. We were outspent 10-1. Clinton, Gore, everybody came to San Francisco to campaign against us. On the day of the election, we actually won the vote, the popular vote, 53-47. It was the absentee ballots that supposedly defeated us. And we'll never know for sure. But it's my great honor to introduce what I consider a great statesman, Matt Gonzalez.
It's really incredible to listen to the convention last week, the Democratic National Convention, and you know, the mantra that kept hearing over and over again was about how the Republicans had done this to us, and Bush had done that to us, and how we had to reverse these terrible crimes against us. But the part that was missing was an acknowledgement by the Democrats that they had been complicit in George Bush's agenda. It's perplexing to me how you can say that you want to, you're not for the war in Iraq, and yet you voted for every war appropriation. You say that you're for civil rights, but you vote for the Patriot Act. Then you vote for the Patriot Act reauthorization. Then you vote for the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act amendment, right, which gives immunities to the telecom companies. I mean, at what point, when is there a breaking point when intelligent people that are trying to build a better society say, wait a second, I'm not falling for this. Nancy Pelosi, who's from my city, San Francisco, told us that if she became the Speaker of the House, they'd end the war. Do you know what happened? She got elected January of 2007. So in 2007, war appropriations went up $50 billion. All that rhetoric about we're not going to have a blank check, do you remember all that? 50 billion more. This year, what was it? It was 25 more on top of the 50, which is already on top of, hundreds of billions of dollars. And yet they come to us and they tell us, we're fighting for you. We're trying to hold the line. We're going to make this a better society. Well, I was at a house party at Phil Wilkie's home earlier, and I said, you know, if it was working, if this strategy of capitulation was working, sign me up. I would love to turn this country around. It's not working. We're not succeeding. We're losing our civilities. Some of what we've heard is really just downright offensive to me, because it essentially relies on the notion that we are too ignorant to engage in politics. The Patriot Act reauthorization. Let's with a wide brush just give a pass on the first Patriot Act. I don't know why we shouldn't. But let's just pretend, okay, post 9/11, I guess the Democrats, you know, there weren't enough West Feingolds. Okay. The Patriot Act reauthorization. You know what the Democrats said? They said, oh, 2006, we weren't in the majority, we couldn't stop it. Here's the problem with that. If the 44 Democrats who voted for the Patriot Act had voted against it, it would have been defeated by 11 votes. How many times have they told you that? Do they tell you that, right? It's amazing to me. Senator Obama has been touring the country when he was campaigning to win the primary. Over and over again, he said, you know, we want to stop the war, and if we had 16 Republicans join us, we could end the war. We need 16, we need to win those seats. Okay, what is he talking about, 16 Republicans? What he is saying is, to override a presidential veto, you need 2/3 of the Senate. So that would be 67 of 100. The Democrats have 49. Then they have two other independents, Bernie Sanders, I think they can rely on. They can't rely on Lieberman. But let's just pretend it's 51. 16 plus 51 is the 67 Obama's talking about. Okay, 16 Republican senators. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with it is the Democrats in the Senate don't have to pass anything. The Democrats in the Senate just have to be able to sustain a filibuster. Right. To stop a filibuster, you need a successful cloture vote, is what they call it, where you need 3/5 of the Senate to stop a filibuster. That is 60 out of 100. Okay? In other words, if you have 41 senators, that would mean there's only 59 vote for cloture, not enough. You got 41 senators, there is no war in Iraq, there is no funding for the war. But Obama wouldn't get in front of the crowd and say, I need 41 of my colleagues, 40 of my colleagues, with a backbone to return our democracy to us. Right? This is a distressing time because many of us want a better country. So what is it that Ralph Nader and Matt Gonzalez and the others that are trying to create progressive politics, what is it that we want? We want a more egalitarian society. We want a society where the technologies we have are implemented and not shut down by corporations with their lobbyists in Congress. We want workers to have rights, to have health care, to be paid decent wages. We want to restore the Taft-Hartley law, which has taken the power of labor to general strike away from them, in effect. We want to do these things, and these things can be done. How do we get there? Do we get there by every 4 years at election time deciding to capitulate and vote for the political party that purports to be the opposition party, but has given us repeated disappointments and failures? Or do we say, you know what, this is not acceptable. I'm not buying into this trap. You're not going to persuade me that that is a solution. Now, let me ask you this. If you had lived in the early part of the 20th century, and somebody had come to you and said, don't vote for Eugene Debs, the candidate that supports the right of women to vote, because you're throwing your vote away. He's only going to get 5 or 6% of the vote. You're throwing your vote away. What would you have done? Well, first off, all the women in the room, you wouldn't have been able to vote. So my question is for the men, what would you have done? And for the women, what would you have wanted them to do? What would you want them to do? You would want them to say, I'm sorry. This is an important enough issue now that needs to be dealt with now. It is not something where we're going to allow the major candidates in contention to talk about, well, maybe women, when they reach the age of 30, maybe if they, all of this rubbish that we cannot even repeat today because it sounds so damn foolish. Fast forward to today. Here we are. What do? We're fighting to get into debates. What's wrong with that? This is a democracy. So what does the other side tell you? They say, these guys are irrelevant. We don't debate them because they're irrelevant. Oh, is that right? You heard Governor Ventura say he got in debates and started to do great. When I ran for mayor of San Francisco, I started with 6% in the polls in 2003. They let me in the debates. I ended up with 47% of the vote. I didn't win the contest. They don't want us in the debate because they don't want to debate our ideas. They want to marginalize us. They want you to believe that you're throwing your vote away if you're with us. I was over at the Excel Center, and one of the conservative radio talk people that I don't know was saying to me, don't know because I don't listen to them, saying to me, well, why do you think you should be allowed to debate Governor Palin and Senator Biden? And I said, well, first off, I was president of the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco. Okay, the budget of San Francisco is over $6 billion. The budget of Alaska is a little over $3 billion. The budget of Delaware is a little over $3 billion. Senator Biden got less votes when he got elected to the Senate